You are also the co-host. I have already made. Okay. Now please start the session.
So very good afternoon to all present over here. Today we are at the second session of day 2 of our AICTE AQIS STTP phase 2. Okay, so in this particular session, we are going to start our first session of hands-on training. So for this hands-on training, we have with us Edgate Technologies Private Limited, Bangalore, who is an authorized partner of Texas Instruments India, Spectrum Digital USA, and BBC Microbeat, and sole authorized distributor of Mango Communications USA, SoftDB Canada, Link Research USA, Technosoft Switzerland, Rowley UK, Zeiss China to set up DSP, IoT, wireless and embedded laboratory at cities across India. In our phase 1 of also we have experts from this particular company for our hands-on training. So in this session also, we are privileged that the experts from Edgate Technologies Private Limited have joined our STTP program. Sir, on behalf of Department of Applied Electronics and Instrumentation Engineering, Guru Nanak Institute of Technology, we welcome you to this particular STTP program. Sir, we are honored to have you as our for our technical sessions. So now I would like to request our coordinator ma'am to felicitate our experts from the Edgate Technologies with the virtual flower bouquet. Ma'am, please give me 1 minute time to share my screen.
Okay, Krishna.
Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible?
Yes, until now you are not audible clearly. Now you are audible.
Actually, I was disconnected suddenly from my desktop. That's why.
Okay, no issues.
Okay. Sir, please on your video.
Yes, yes, ma'am. One second.
Okay, sir. Welcome again in the phase 2 STTP program.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and hope you are fine.
I'm all good, ma'am. How about everyone here?
Okay. Okay, sir. So you start your session. Participants are waiting. So you can start your session.
Ma'am, my screen was visible to you, na?
Yes, Paramita.
Okay,
It was visible.
okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. I hope the screen is visible.
Yes, it is visible. It is visible.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. So, and outgoing sessions will be related to IoT and robotics, as you all know. So, now the day 1 session will be on introduction of IoT and what is the network process that is involved in it, and we are going to start from the basic. How is the device to device communication is happening in a network conceptual wise, and since theory to understand IoT there will be a lot of theory involved. So the session, we don't want the session to become a complete theory. So at the end of the session, we'll just have how to obtain an IP address and so on. So regarding this IP address, we will get to know once we understand about IoT and networking concepts, everything. Okay. So since there is a lot of theory part, at last we just scheduled it in such a way that we have one practical session that would make our session a hands-on type. Okay. So let us start with the conceptual wise. Yeah. So getting into the conceptual wise, we need to understand what is IoT and what is terminologically and what do you mean and what do you understand about IoT. IoT is nothing but Internet of Things. So we all know that it is nothing but an Internet of Things. Now we have to know what is this Internet of Things and why do we require this Internet of Things. Correct. Right. So let's suppose that we just saw some from past 10 years or something, we are just able to transfer data device to device, which is in some of the media it may be a wired communication. Okay, it may be in RF communication, radio frequency. Those are the basic things from where communication actually started. Correct. So these were the things how a device could receive a data from some other device. Okay, then getting into further thoughts and so on, a scientist thought, why not we can virtually send data or receive data to any device, not only a device that is electronically, or it can be an embedded system or something. So for example, let's suppose that I have a dustbin here. Okay, so I can send data to that dustbin and receive data from that dustbin. So how do I make it? So that is the name of this topic. That is nothing but Internet of Things. When you're telling things, it means anything in the world. So, which means even a stone, even a water bottle, even a glass tumbler, everything can be made smart device if you are connecting internet and if you are able to communicate with that particular device. So here Internet of Things involves every non-living thing or living thing, whatever it is, that can communicate with a particular device or receive or communicate with particular device. Either it is receiving or transmitting. Okay. So yeah, how do you make a particular device smart? Okay. These if you want to make a particular device smart, so there are few guidelines that a network connection should be there. In case of a network connection, there should be an IP address assigned for that non-living thing. For example, I told you I'm going to connect my dustbin to the internet and I'm going to send data and receive data from that dustbin. So what I have to do? First, I need to make that dustbin an internet enabled. To make a particular thing as an internet enabled, I need to apply a network to it. For example, so can anyone tell me how is your laptop getting connected to a Wi-Fi, or how is your mobile phone getting an internet connection? Can anyone tell me how is it possible? Okay, my grinder is also a
Participants,
electronic
you can
device.
unmute and you can interact.
Yeah,
Participants,
yes. So for example, my washing machine is also an electronic device. My oven is also an electronic device. Why can that not be connected to internet? Why can my laptop and mobile phone can be connected to internet? So what is the reason behind connecting to an internet? How is my laptop getting connected to my Wi-Fi? Why not my washing machine is connecting to Wi-Fi? So both are electronic device only. So there must be some logic. So yeah. So the logic behind is, so if you just open your mobile phone, go to your settings, you have a option called about your phones. So getting into about your phones, you can see your IP address in your mobile phone. In your settings, you will have an IP address which will be unique for your device only. So just take another mobile phone. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So let's suppose I have two mobile phones. If I open the IP address of both the mobile phones, each will be different in its own way. So IP address is a unique identity. For example, okay. So we'll just consider a college. There are two Rohit there. Okay. So if a teacher calls name by Rohit, who should whom should they address? So is it the first Rohit or the second Rohit? So we cannot know. They themselves don't know whom they are calling, right? So that is why we have given an university seat number for each and every student in the college. Am I right? Every student in the university has their own seat number, university seat number, or a registration number. So using that registration number only, he is writing their exams, internals, externals, labs, everything. So he has its own identity using that university seat number only. Same way, if a device need to be addressed or made particular connections or whatever it is, IP address is assigned for the device, and the only device which has IP address can be assigned a network. So if I'm able to talk using my mobile phone, that is using the network or whatever network it may be. You have multiple networks and third, Airtel, Vodafone, and so on. So apart from that, companies and all, you have a network. Using that network, you're able to talk to other devices. In washing machine, we are not able to call anyone because it doesn't have a network. That is the reason. Okay. So mobile phone is able to call to other devices and speak to other person because of the network. And the network is because of the IP address. If a device has no IP address, so there is no network among it. Okay. So that is the main thing. So if a device has a network, what is the thing? So when it device has a network and other device has a network, only then the communication will be possible. Only then the communication would be possible. Okay. So I don't want to go into the IoT concept first. First, let us know networking concept. So maybe there might be a few of you might be knowing about OSI model. Okay, OSI model is the basic structure to understand networking and how network communication is happening between two devices. So few might be knowing, few might not be knowing. So I'll just start from OSI model. So coming to OSI model, what is an OSI model? So OSI model is a
Sir, are you
structure or
changing
a
your slide?
sorry.
Your slide is not
Into
changing.
the
Are you
introduction,
changing?
no. So slowly I'll just move on to the OSI model. Now,
Okay.
so coming into the OSI model, what do you understand by OSI model is graphical model or a blockical model that is created to maintain the connection and for example establish the connection, maintain the connection, and terminate the connection. Using these steps or blocks provided in OSI model, we'll be able to connect to the device. Once the connection is established, only then we can connect. See, I cannot directly call you and speak to you. As I call, it should get connected to my network with your network, then it should start ringing. Once you attend the call, then only we will be able to speak. Each other will be able to speak. That means a network should be established, maintained on until my communication it gets over. Once the connection is terminated or network is terminated. Okay. So we'll all learn steps that you'll learn in OSI model. So using which we'll understand better how a device to device communication will possible. Okay. So now before getting into the OSI model block explanation, so I want to know whether any of you know about OSI model. If you know, can you tell me a full form of that OSI model? What is OSI?
Open source interconnection.
It is so it is fine, no problem. It is open system interconnection. So using open system interconnection, we'll be able to understand the communication between devices. It may be any device to device communication or any media of communication. This is the main model that every communication devices follow. Okay, so you whenever it is coming to Internet of Things, we also follow OSI model only. That is the reason before entering into the Internet of Things, we have to understand OSI model and understand the communication. Okay. our next concepts will be easy for us to understand. So I'll just to the next block. So we'll just see what is OSI. And yeah, this is a basic pic of an internet. As I told you, if it is a thing, it can be any non-living thing in the world that can be made smart, and communication between the device and the living thing or the thing can be communicated with. So these are the different platforms. There is no department where IoT cannot be used. Everywhere IoT can be used. So these are the few examples that I have given around. So you can use in malls or shopping centers. You can use it in wearable technologies like your fit bands and so on, right? So the smartphones are nothing but an IoT device. Vehicles can be an IoT device. Home can be an IoT device. That means you can control your lights, you can control your doors, you can control your windows, everything you can control using your mobile phone itself, which is nothing but an internet of things technology. So it can be used in industries, music. I mean, it can be used in different platforms. Yeah. So these are the examples. So without delay, we just enter into OSM model and understand the procedure. So OSM model, as I told you, there are 7 layers. We just call it as layers than representing it as a blocks. So there are 7 layers in our OSM model. So they are nothing but, give me a second, please. Yeah, it is application layer, presentation layer, session layer, transport layer, network layer, data link, and physical layer. Okay, these are the 7 layers that every device communication follows. So, okay, now let me just describe each and every layer. And while understanding each and every layer, we'll just take an example of some communication method using which we can understand the concept clearly. Okay, so application. So coming to application layer, it is high level APIs including resource sharing, remote file access. So these are the terms that are used in application. And where do we use application here is in hardware. Hardware in the sense, okay. So you can understand that user or the programmer can directly interact with application layer. He cannot interact with any other layer except application layer. Okay. So as I told you in the further slide, I'll just give an example and teach you so that you will understand better. Okay. Now for now, let me just describe each and every layer. Then we'll get to know in the further slide. Okay. Then coming to presentation layer, translation of data between a networking service and an application. So what do you mean by this is, if you're sending some message, for example, you're talking on a mobile phone or a telephone. Okay. So you're telling hi from transmitting end, and receiving end receives the word hi. But while transmitting, receiver, no. What happens in between is it is converted into bits. Okay, it is converted to zeros and ones while transmitting. Once it is reaching the receiver, then the zeros and ones are again retransformed into voice, and the receiver will be able to listen hi and the other side. Okay, so presentation layer is a layer which can compress the data. So whatever the user data is providing onto the application layer. So as I told you, application layer is the only layer that a user can interact with. If he wants to send some data, he will put it in the application layer only. Okay. And presentation layer will transmit the data into a compressed format where the transmission will be suitable. The data is suitable for the transmission. Okay. So the raw data will be converted into compressed data or suitable form of data where transmission supports. Okay. Then session layer. Session layer. So what is the session layer is? See, I'm talking about one side of the device. This is these 7 layers. I'm talking about the transmitting sides. Once it reaches the last layer, that is physical layer. Once physical layer is completed, then that physical layer is virtually connected to the physical layer of the receiving side. Okay. Here, in the transmitting side, the layer surpasses in this form: application, present, session, transport, network, data link, physical. Once physical is surpassed, then it moves to the receiving end, and the receiving end receives the data with physical layer, then data link, network, transport, session, present, application. Once it comes out of the application layer, the receiving end user can read the data. If you are able to understand whatever I'm telling, so at the receiving end, the transmission is done from application layer to physical layer. But when it comes to the receiving end, it receives the data through physical layer, and when it reaches application layer, the user will be able to read the raw data. Okay. Finally, it will be converted into raw data. Okay. And why am I telling all this only at the session layer pointers? Session layer is responsible for connection orientation between the device receiving transmitting device and the receiving device. Session layer is the layer which actually connects the transmitting device and the receiving device. So, which means session layer should be completely responsible until the transmission starts from session layer and it reaches till the of the other device, which means session layer to physical layer, then the other device physical layer to session layer. Until it completes the process with the next session layer, the connection has to be maintained the same way. It cannot be lost. Once the connection is lost, the data transmission will be failed. Okay. Session layer is completely responsible for connection orientation, connection maintenance, and connection termination. All the three functions is done by the session layer. Okay. Session layer is responsible for creating the connection between the two devices. Session layer is responsible for maintaining the session between the two layers, and session layer is responsible for terminating two layers. Terminating means disconnecting the connection between the two layers. Okay. So this is about session layer. So application layer is nothing but a raw data where you send the raw data. The user can directly interface with the application layer and send the raw data. Once after that, the presentation layer takes the raw data and convert it into a compressed format or into a particular format where transmission can be suitable. And coming to the session layer is responsible for connection between the device 1 and device 2. It is nothing but the transmitting device and the receiving device. Okay, both the devices, and it is completely responsible for connection orientation, connection maintenance, and connection termination. All the three session layer is responsible for. Okay, then coming to the transportation layer. So what is this transportation layer is? Transportation layer helps us know whether the device communication is a reliable communication or no. So in this transportation layer, we have two types of communication, that is TCP communication and UDP communication. When the communication comes from session layer, transmitter layer has a separate functionality. Either the device can communicate the data using TCP communication, or the device can communicate using a UDP communication. TCP and UDP, you will learn what is the theory part, everything you will learn it tomorrow, because the programming will be done tomorrow. So the related theory also will be done tomorrow, so I won't be explaining that. I can just tell you that TCP and UDP is a way of communications. So one would be a reliable one and one would be a non-reliable one. Okay, so we'll get to know everything about TCP and UDP in the tomorrow's class. Okay, so TCP and UDP is performed in transportation layer. Okay, once after that we have network layer. So what do you think network layer is responsible for? Is network layer is a layer where a network is established between the device to device, which means, for example, okay, you have a Wi-Fi router in your house. How do you connect? How is your mobile and your laptop getting an internet connection through that Wi-Fi? That means Wi-Fi is a router which is acting as a hub, and my laptop, mobile phone, everything is a clients for it. Okay, these are all connected devices. So in order to get a network to a different devices, you have a hub which is providing network to different devices and get connected to it. So network layer is nothing but acting as a router, or it can act as a repeater. So these are all the technical hardware parts which is responsible for connection, internet connection and so on, right? So router, everything. So these are all under network layer. And coming to the data link layer is responsible for reliable communication with data frames. So data frames is uh, so there is extraction of data happening in each layer. So if you just see in application, presentation and session layer, what happens is, if that is in the form of data only, which means application has a raw data, presentation layer has a compressed data. Okay, and that those data, when it is sent to transport layer, those data are converted into segments. Okay, those data are converted into segments. And when it comes to network layer converts it into packets. And when it comes to data link layer, those packets are converted into frames. Okay, at last, once it reaches the physical layer, those frames are converted into bits. Bits are nothing but zeros and ones. Okay, it can be in the form of symbols, it can be in the form of word, it can be in the form of bytes or bits. It is a various types of representing the data. Okay, so at last it will be converted to zeros and ones. Okay, so this is a basic description of each layer. Now once we have an example with each layer, each and every layer, then we'll get to know better how these functions are undertaken. So we'll just get into the next slide. So you can just see it is given with an example. So practically we'll take an example of sending a mail. Okay, how do we send a mail from normal Gmail or whatever it is, right? How do you send a mail, and how does other person receive the mail? Let's suppose I'm sending some images. Okay, I want to send another person images using email. Okay, so what I will do, I'll use my application layer. Using application layer, I'll upload my images. Okay, this is where the user is directly interacting with. So with which layer I'm interacting? I'm interacting with an application layer. So once I interact with application layer, see, okay, few images may support. Few with higher resolutions they may not support. Let's suppose, so I'll just take a better example. I'll use video. So I just have a video clip that I need to share it through mail ID. So if I just paste the video clip, is my mail supporting the video clip? No. It will tell me that the size of the file that you are pasted is more than 25 MB or something like that. Okay, 25 MB. So what we have to do is, we have to convert that into a compressed format. For example, let's take it practically. How do you send a video clip in your mail ID? Any one of you? How do you send? Do you directly paste the video? Is it possible? Or let's suppose you wanted to send some folder also. Okay, you have created some project or something, created a folder and paste every project in the folder. So if you directly paste that folder into the mail, it may not. So what do you need to do in order to support in mailer format? Anyone? Have you sent a folder using email ID? Anyone?
We have to upload,
Normal folder. Yeah.
open the folder and upload the entire content, select the entire content and press upload so that every content goes in a sequence of streams. And then once the streams are getting accumulated, then the folder will be sent.
Yeah. Then doing it is a long process. What you can do is, if the mailer is not accepting the folders, so let's suppose you have a huge folders and within the folders you have folders, so it cannot support every time. It is not possible. If yours is a limited then you can somehow manage and try to put it in the mail and share it. So if not, what I'll do is, if my folder is of 250 MB, 300 MB, 500 MB, everything. So what I can do is, I can application. Have you heard about RAR folder application? So which comprises your folder into compressed format. So RAR format. I hope you are all aware of RAR format. I hope you are all used it. Okay. So RAR application is a type of application which compresses the folder. If it is a 250 MB folder, it may compress it to 50 MB or 60 MB folder, and which will be suitable, or it can save a memory while sharing the data. Once the receiver receives the compressed file, then he can extract and re-informat the bigger folders and use it for whatever he has to do. Okay. So what happens? So this folder, when I told you it is getting compressed using an RAR format, then I'll be able to share it in the mail ID. So compression or data compression is happening, that is happening in presentation layer. So before that, application layer has a different excuse me, has different application like HTTP, FTP, ISS, DNS. These are all the examples where you use. So one of the examples we will be learning in the further classes. So you will learn about HTTP in tomorrow's class. Okay. Yeah. Presentation layer, as I told you, it is converted into a format. The image can, for example, you are sending an image. Image cannot be directly sent through mail. It has to convert it into JPEG format or something like that, right? I hope you are aware of JPEG format. So every data has its own format which can be compressed, and that can be suitable for the communication process. Okay, each and every format has its own compression formats, so using which you can do. And once after presentation layer, that means once after data is compressed, then it goes to session layer. In session layer, actual synchronization happens. What is the synchronization process? First, the connection between the who is sending the mail, that device, and the receiving device. Session the connection will be oriented between the both the session layers until it reaches the next device session layer. The connection should be maintained by the session layer. What are the format that the compression further takes place is that JPEG or RAR format or whatever the compressed data format it is, that will be converted into sockets. it will be converted into sockets there. Okay. Then that sockets are done in session layer. Once after the session layer is completed, it goes to transport layer. What does my transport layer do is transport layer can choose which type of communication is happening between the both the devices. There are usually two types of communication happening, that is TCP and UDP. So the connection will be oriented, and depending upon which type of communication the user has chosen, so using that type of communication, the further data will be done. Okay. And this layer, the data will be transformed into segments. First raw data, next JPEG format, then that will be further converted into sockets, then that will be further converted into segments in transport layer, and then we get into the network layer. Network layer, I told you, these are all networking concepts, how the routing provides network to the further devices. Okay. So initially when I was explaining you about IoT and networking, how can we get a network to a particular device? I told you already. If anyone can answer, please answer. How do a device get network? So how my mobile phone got network, how my laptop got network, I explained you in the initial part, right? So with what can we get a network to a device? I just told you a small example. Sorry.
Using the unique IP address assigned.
All right, right, correct, exactly. So using an IP address, any device can get a network. For example, you have an IP address. Yes, you will be given a network. And you have an IP address, then yes, you will be provided a network. So you don't have an IP address, sorry, I cannot provide you a network. So that is how the network will be oriented and the connection will be built. Okay. So you can see in the examples of network layer, yeah, the data will be converted from segments to packets. But see the examples that you have used: IP, ICMP, IPsec, IP section, and IGMP. These are the examples of network. When it comes to IoT concepts and this communication type, we use IP address as our mainstream. So if IP address is provided for a device, network is possible. If not, network is not possible. Okay. Yeah, this is on network layer. Next, we go to the data link layer. Yeah, the packets will be further framed into frames, or it will be converted into frames. And coming into the examples, uh, this is the Ethernet bridges. I told you, right? How do hubs, LANs, these are all connected. These are all using Ethernet. So data link layer will be converted into this format. Then after that, we have physical layer where the data will be actually converted into bits. So physical layer, the name itself tells you it is a physical layer, which means a physical physical part is used for the connection. For example, if you're using a Wi-Fi, if you want a distortionless connection, you can use your LAN connection. So that is nothing but the hardware part. So if you don't have a hardware part, it can be wireless connection also. It can be repeaters also. It can be optical fibers, whatever cables you are using. These all comes under physical layer. When it comes to physical layer, uh, if the data has to be transmitted into these physical layers, it may be LAN, wireless, whatever it may be, the data should be in form of zeros and ones. That is the reason at the end the frames are converted into bits or bytes or whatever format it may be. Okay. So that is how the communication happens. And now, once after physical layer, the data will be out of the layers OSI model, and these are all now in the form of zeros and ones. And these zeros and ones, because we know where to go, because session layer has already decided which device it has connected with, right? So to that device physical layer, the data will be transmitted, and that physical layer receives the data in form of zeros and ones, and then data link layer which will convert zeros and ones to frames. Frames will be converted into packets in network layer. Those packets are converted into segments in transport layer. Those segments are converted into sockets, and then sockets to JPEG format, whatever it is. Then the raw data will be seen at the application layer, and whoever is receiving the mail, they can directly interact with the application layer and see what is the data that the other user has sent. So this is how total OSM model works. Okay, if you have any confusions, I'll just give you 2 minutes. You can just post it on the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and ask me whatever doubts you have in OSM model. Yeah, you can let me know if you have any questions on OSM model. Else, I'll further move on to the further concepts. Okay. Yes. So if you have no queries till now, then I'll just move on. So getting into the further parts. So here, if a data is being sent, we have to take care there is no data loss happening in any layer transmission. Okay. For that, we have a protection layers around data. So we'll just see that line by line. So from this is transmitting from application layer to transmit transport layer, because from application layer to transport layer all are raw data, correct? Normal data that is having. Once it reaches session layer, network layer, then only the actual transmission happens in the data. So first it will be in data. Once it reaches the transport layer is the place where you decide what type of communication you are using, whether it is a TCP communication or UDP communication, right? So according to which type of communication you'll be going to choose, accordingly, that header will be attached to the data. So if you're using a TCP communication, then TCP communication will attach a TCP header to the data, so that no data transmission or data loss that is happening in the transport layer. Once it goes to the network layer provides IP to the devices, right? So the IP header, will be attached to the data. So now the data has TCP header and IP header. Okay. Then IP header is then further moved to data link layer. Then in data link layer, that is a frame header that is adding up. Okay. So when it comes to data link layer, it makes sure there is no loss. I just forgot to tell you one more point, one important point in data link layer. Data link layer is completely responsible if there is any data loss happening. Okay, for example, if a mail is sent from the user and the other one does not receive the data completely, okay, if the other user does not receive the data completely, that means there is some issue in the data link layer. So data link is completely responsible if there is any data loss happening on the way. So if you see in data link layer, you have protected layers of frame header and frame trailer. So since protected in the both the sides, there is no way of data loss happening from any side. So initial side there is frame header, the end of the data you have frame trailer. So you don't have any data loss happening. If there is any still there is any data, then your data link has a fault. Okay. Physical layer, every data, everything will be converted into bits. So I have just written here bytes because there is way of communication. If my application is suitable for bytes, then I'll use bytes. If your application is suitable for your transmission, if you feel your transmission will be clear when you use bits, then you can use bits. I told you initially, right? Physical layer can be converted to bits, bytes, word, symbols, whatever it is. Okay. So it is up to the user if he can convert it. So whatever the format it is, the value will be in zeros and ones only, right? So you don't need to do it. Okay. So this is the data frame format of all the 7 layers, how data is protected and reaches the other device. Okay. So this would be basic introduction of ISI model. So if you have understood this, that means you are clear and you don't have any questions in data communication. And okay, now we'll just do a small introduction of IP address. Okay. So coming to the IP address, IP you have two ways, that is addressing and routing. When it comes to addressing and routing, we have to understand first what is IP address. Routing in the sense, first IP address is generated, routing in the sense providing the IP address for the particular. What happens first? A router detects some devices, and once the devices are detected, it has to detect if the device has an IP address. So addressing is done, then routing is done. So once a router detects a device, first what it does, it checks if the device has an IP address. If it has no IP address, then the connection is impossible. Okay. So first addressing is done, then routing is done. So there's the step involved in the IP addressing. Okay. To provide a network. So what is an IP address? Can you tell me what is IP full form?
Internet protocol.
Yes. So it is called as Internet Protocol. Okay. So as I told you, I think I just gave a brief introduction of IP address earlier. It is a unique number that a particular device will be provided with. Okay. So I think I gave you an example also with some students ID and something, right? So I think this would be enough for you to understand what is IP address. Coming into the structure of IP address, what do you understand structure of IP address is? There are two types of structure available. V4, that is Internet Protocol version 4. We have IPv6 also. IPv6, most of the no one is much using it. It is now present for any industrial purpose, experimental purpose, and so on. We don't get any IPv6 till now. So we've all are working on IPv4. So what is an IPv4? Why? So we have a structure of IP address. Why is it IPv4 or IPv6? What is IPv4 and what is IPv6 is? IPv4 is, it is a structure of 4 partition. It is total of 32-bit address that uniquely and universally defines the connection of the device to the internet. So this is the thing. So what is the size of the bit? Excuse me. Yes. So the total size of the IP address is 32-bit. So how is it 32-bit? It is divided into 8-bit octets. Octet in the sense, you can see an example that I have given, 180.124.09.16. So there are 4 8-bit octets available. This one 8-bit octet, 180 is an 8-bit octet, 124 is an 8-bit octet, 09 is an 8-bit octet, 16 is an 8-bit octet. When I'm specifying you telling that it is an 8-bit octet, what is the maximum value? Can anyone tell me? what is the maximum value of an IP address if it is an 8-bit octet? Yes, anyone? It is a simple question. So I told you each bit is a 8-bit octet. If it is an 8-bit octet, so what is the maximum value of an IP address that is provided?
255.
Yes, it is 255.255.255.255. Yes, so it is, so to make others understand a bit, so it is like 2 power 8 dot 2 power 8 dot 2 power 8 dot 2 power 8. I mentioned you it is an 8-bit octet. That means each octet is an 8-bit octet, which means 2 power 8. So 2 power 8 is 25. So the maximum value of IP address that it can produce is 255.255.255.255. So which means so it's like this. See here, 2 power 8 dot 2 power 8 but 2 power 8 dot 2 power 8, which is nothing but 255.255.255.255. Okay. So can anyone tell me why have I given 255? 2 power 8 is 256, right? Is it 256 or 255? So why did I put 255 here? So according to the logic, mathematically, 2 power 8 is 256. So I have to put 256. Why did I put 255 here? Okay. So usually if you're counting from 1, 2, 3, 4, it counts 256 bits. I'm just counting 256 bits. That means each octet has 2 per 8 bits. That means 256 bits, but we are counting from 0. I'm counting from 0 to the maximum value, which should totally count 256 bits. So since I'm counting from 0, total it should be 256. So my maximum value will be obviously 255. That means 0 to 255. The minimum IP address value is 0.0.0.0, and the maximum value is 255.255.255.255. So totally from 0 to 255 there are 256 bits total. Okay, so this is a basic introduction. So IP address, if you want to extract an IP address, there are two processes: addressing and routing. First, a device address checks the address of the device if the address is provided or no. If not, uh, the connection cannot be possible. Once after address is detected, then routing is been done, then connected to the internet, and you can use for your different various applications. And coming to the version or structure of my IP address, how does an IP address looks? It is nothing but the structure is basically defined with two different parts. It is types, IPv4, IPv6, Internet Protocol version 4 and version 6. So yet commercial purpose there is no version 6 available, so we are all working on by the version 4 itself. So coming to the structure, it is a total of 32-bit address, and coming into the individual parts, how it is structurized, it has 4 8-bit octets available. The pattern of the IP address is given as 4 different octet 8-bit octets. So the data varies from 0 to 255, and an example of IP address is given below. So how it is structurized is 2 power 8 bit dot 2 power 8 bit dot 2 power 8 bit dot 2 power 8 bit. So it is 256 bits totally. Since I'm initially starting from 0, so the maximum value will be 255. So 0 to 255 is each octet bit size. Okay, yeah. And coming to the partition of IP address, each IP address has a network ID and host ID. Okay. So in my example, it is 180.124.09.16. So in further, there are classifications of IP address being done. So using those classification, you can understand which part of this IP address is network ID, which part of these IP address is a host ID. Okay, so that you will get to know. So I have given you that the IP address can be divided into a network ID and host ID. So we'll understand more about this network ID and host ID. Okay. Yeah, you can see here IP addresses are basically classified into class A, class B, class C, class D, class E. Okay. If you ask me based on what the classification is done, it is based on the network ID. Okay. If your network ID, I mean the first octet is from 0 to 126, it belongs to clock class A. If my network ID is from 128 to 191, then it belongs to class B. If it is from 192 to 223, it is class C. 224 to 239, it is class D. 240 to 255, it is class C. Now, in the previous part, I have given an example of an IP address. Can anyone tell me which class does this IP address belong to? Check the first octet, first 8-bit octet, and you will get to know which class does this IP address belong to. So there is an example IP address given here. Can anyone tell me?
Class B.
Yes, it is class B, because if you see into the classifications, sorry. So if you check into the classification, class A is within 126. Within 126, whatever it is, it involves in one class A. This is 180, which we saw in the example, which lies under 128 to 191. So my IP address, I can tell it as it is a class B IP address. Okay. So further, it can be used. And one more thing, you cannot use all the class in your application. So there are only few classes they have allotted for commercial purpose. Rest classes are given for experimental purpose and so on. So that classification we'll be seeing in the further slide. That is here. So according to the application or the availability, the classification is done like this. For commercial purpose, that means where we can use, the users can use, that is under class A, class B, class C, whichever IP address you want, you can use. Okay. Then you have class D for multi-class casting. So can you give me an examples of multicasting? Can anyone give me example for multicasting? So which all department involves in this multicasting example? Yes. Multicasting. The name itself tells you what is it. Multicasting means a broadcasting. So your radio is a broadcasting device. Television is a broadcasting devices. You have different broadcasting devices. So class D IP addresses are all given to such broadcasting applications. That is multicasting application. And coming to class E, those are all for experimental purpose, where the scientists for research purpose they can use it. Okay. Class E is never given to any of your application. Even you buy a high-end product from the market, you won't get anything apart from you won't get an IP address which lies under class E classification. Okay, so that is completely for research purpose they have given. Okay, so these are the few classifications, and so we are going to use only commercial. So we are not bothered about class D and class E because we are not using. If you are using, we have to know about IP address which we will be able to use, and where we can classify which class does my IP address fall into. So in your IP address, so I don't take a particular IP address. I'm just choosing one type of IP address. Uh, with a variable argument like w dot x dot y dot z. This is an IP address that I have got. So in class A, network ID is just one octet. Host ID will be provided. All the three
Sure.
octets. Sorry.
চলে যায়
Okay. So 3 octets are assigned for host ID, and one octet is given as a network ID. So which means network ID will be fixed. Host ID can be changed. Okay. Everywhere network ID will be fixed. Host ID only will be changed. Okay. And when your network ID is only first octet and rest all be assigned for host ID, then your IP address lies under class A. Class B means network ID has first octet and second octet fixed, and if it is changing, uh, third octet and the fourth octet will be changed. Okay, for example, you want to know better, if you want a better understanding about this, what is this network ID host ID? He's just telling me what network ID and host ID, but he's not telling what is it or not. So I'm just get confused. So what I have to do to understand it better? So, for example, yeah. So I've connected I have a pen, different. So there are 3 to 4 people with me. I have a pen. He has a water bottle. Other one has a water bottle, and other one has a helmet with him. Other one has a something else, something with him. Okay, all these things are provided with an IP address. Okay, so all the 4 devices are connected to the same Wi-Fi. So if my same Wi-Fi is provided, if my Wi-Fi router belongs to class B, for example, my Wi-Fi network that is from class B. Okay, for example, I'm not telling specifically it is class A only, class B only, class C only. It can be anything. So I'm just taking an example for class B. So we have 4 devices. I have pen. My other friend has a helmet. Other friend has a water bottle. Other friend has some other thing, right? So when we extract the IP address of every object, my pen's IP address, my friend's bottle's IP address, and other IP addresses, my all 4 devices first 2 octets will be same. That means because we 4 devices have connected to the same Wi-Fi router, my network IDs will be same. Only thing that changes is our host ID. Now, are you able to understand what is network ID and host ID now? Now I think you are able to understand. So network ID will not change for the devices which is connected to a same network. Only host IDs will be changed. And if you want to know which class your IP address is belonging to, then you can get to know only with this logic. Okay. And there is something called subnet masking also that you will be learned tomorrow. Subnet masking concept. Using the subnet masking, you can clearly know how do you classify the IP address into different classes. There is a practical solution using which you will get to know how it is how it is classified everything. Okay, for now we'll just understand that if it is class A, network ID is a single octet. All the 3 octets are assigned for host ID. If it is a class B, two octets are assigned for network ID, and 2 are used for host ID. And class C, network ID is assigned for three octets are assigned for network ID. Only one octet is left to assign host ID. Okay. So these are the classifications of IP address in different ways. This in the form of network ID and host ID. This in the form of application. This in the form of network ID. Classification according to the numbers. Okay. So these are the IP address classifications. So yeah, when it comes to application, so I think yeah, this is nothing but, so whatever I have written here, this I have written it as theoretically. Sorry for extending one more slide. So if you just read it, you just know same thing which I told you in the previous slide. Class A, large number of hosts and few number of networks. Okay, you saw that only one octet was given as networks, rest all was provided as host IDs. And class B, moderate number of host and network IDs, more number of network IDs in class C, only only fewer number assigned for host ID. Okay, so this is what I told you. I just wrote it in a theoretical way. That's it. Okay. So coming to each class IP address, we can also know how many bits is assigned for each ID. Okay. So in class A, network ID is given of network ID is of 7-bit, host ID is of 24-bit. Okay. Network in class B, network ID is of 14-bit, host ID is of 16-bit. Excuse me. And coming to class C, you have 21 bits here, 8-bit in the host ID. So it is different forms allotted. And in class B, for multicast, it is giving 28 bits. In class C, it is given as 27 bits. So like this, the size of each ID is also specified. This just for a reference, okay? You won't use it everywhere. So in case you wanted to know what is the size of your IP address or what is the bit size, network ID size, bit size or host ID bit size, then this for your reference. Okay. Yeah. Then here is some examples for network ID and host ID. So these are some like how many number of networks can be connected in class A, how many hosts can be connected to the class A. Same way in class B, how many networks can be connected, how many hosts can be connected. These are all the standard formats. If you have designed a very big application so that you will have some hundreds of IP addresses required, then these are the things you have to keep it in your mind. If you're using a class A, then you have to remember that you have only 126 devices that can connect to network and others 16 I think almost it is 1 crore 67 lakh 770,000 change. So these many hosts can be connected. Okay. So these are all for your reference if you're doing a bigger application or these are all actually too big. So this is for our reference. Since we are starting with the basic concepts, we have to know this. That's it. Okay. So we have to just know it clearly. Now getting into the concept. Yeah. Class A, what is the minimum value and maximum value? In class B, what is the minimum value and maximum value? In class C, what is the minimum value and the maximum value that you can use? Okay, so if you just keep this on your mind, you will get to know in which class your IP address can lie. Or if you are assigning a device with an IP address, then you have to remember all these. So you must be careful while you are assigning a IP address to a particular device. If you are assigning for class A, you have to remember that the IP address should be there within this range and yeah, so on. Like this, different, all the three classifications are given here, so it will be easy for you to understand. Okay. So these are all about IP address. So this much is of all networking concepts. Okay. Now what I can do is I'll just give you a complete theoretical introduction of IoT, and then we can just wind up the session. So sorry for it. Just got a call in between. So they just informed me that the IP address should be can be taken tomorrow. So I'm just telling you all about IoT concepts and theory concepts. Then tomorrow will be IP address and TCP port. So as per the schedule, everything will be done. Nothing will be skipped or no topic will be jumped into. Okay. So tomorrow the practical IP address and TCP will be done. Sorry for the prior. There will be no any hands-on programming session now. So complete theory session. So please don't sleep. So we'll just try to complete as soon as possible. Okay. Yeah. Coming into the introduction. So we need to understand IoT first. So understanding IoT. So, so as I told you, anything that is connected to an internet can be called as IoT. So we have clearly described here telling the Internet of Things essentially enables us to connect things to the internet. Okay. The Internet of Things helps a particular thing connect to the internet. How? Using IP address. So whenever I talk about internet, IP, Internet of Things, everything, your mind should be always keep running with terms called IP address and so on, because how well you remember it, and that expertise you will become in IoT concepts. Okay. If I tell something like internet or something, related terms should be running in your mind every time. So that is how you get familiar with these topics. So yeah, anything can be connected to Internet of Things if it is an if the device is assigned with a network and connected to the internet. Okay. These things or items can exchange information between them, transmit data to other devices and systems. Yes. So anyone can wonder. I just in the starting of this class, I just told you dustbin. I can communicate with dustbin. Everyone will be wondering how can the dustbin communicate with a device? How can it even communicate? How can it send data? It is just a non-living thing. It is just a metal body. Metal body. How can it transmit? Correct. So, as you provide a network IP address to it, and let's suppose to that network, I'm just. It depends upon what sensor you're applying to the network. So let's suppose I'm communicating with my dustbin to know when the bin is full or when the bin is empty, when it is about to become full or something like that. It should keep notifying me. I can't keep checking now and then. I can't go to my dustbin and check uh, how much it is filled or it is overloaded everything, right? So to us to understand, I'm just connecting that to the network and providing a sensor. Let's suppose an IR sensor. Whenever the dust reaches at the top of the bin, my IR sensor will indicate me telling that my bin is about to be full. Okay. So like that, that data will be provided to me using a mobile phone or the device that I'm using here. And accordingly, I can drain the bin or whatever it is, water reaction or the water return data that I can provide, that I will be doing it. Okay. I can make the dustbin as smart as possible, as such that if I control using mobile phone, it itself can drain. There should be some outlet for the dustbin and it can drain by itself. So everything can be done through mobile phone itself. It is if the bin is smart enough. Okay. So yeah, this is how any non-living thing can communicate with a device. Okay, I just gave an example of dustbin. Yeah, see, you can see you have various devices and various applications that IoT can be connected to and used for various applications here. So let me just move on and tell you few evolution of this IoT Internet of Things. So yeah, during 2003, 2004, 2005, we never knew what is IoT. The word itself was very new for us. Okay, the name itself came around 2008 or 2009. So until then, no one knew. So as we were kids also, we didn't use internet until we were higher primary students, right? Until we were higher primary students, we never knew what is an internet also. So after coming to higher primary, then we started using internet and so on, right? So yeah, so without internet, obviously there would be no existence of IoT also. So actually, the IoT concept were introduced or initialized at 2003, but never came into existence or familiar until or before 2010 or something. Okay, once after that, mobile came into evolution and smartphones started coming during during 2008 or so only, right? A smartphone started evolving. Then the smartphones came into tabs and so on, and then tabs went into various application. Now my laptop can act as phone, my phone can act as a laptop, my tab can act as a laptop, my tab can act as a mobile phone. This is possible nowadays. So if you check how many users were there during evolution of internet is at 2003, there were 0 users that used IP addresses. Okay, then coming to fast forward to 2008, we had 6,700 change all over the world. We had, just think, we had only 6,700 change IP address users all over the world during 2008. Then coming into 2010, we had excuse me, we had around immediately there was around 10 million users or 10 billion users. Then immediately within 2015, there was 20 to 25 billion users that used Internet of Things or IP addresses and so on. Then fast forwarding to 2020, now presently there are 50 billion users who are using Internet or Internet of Things and so on. So at least, uh, if you clearly see, there is at least one device in your house that is nothing but an IoT. For example, you have a smart Fitband. Fitband is nothing but an IoT. How do you think you get all this smart? That is a smartwatch. That is nothing but a IoT. If it is a normal Fitband, it is due to Bluetooth. But how it is collecting using internet, right? Yeah. So these are the things how evolution of IoT came into existence, and now 50 billion users are there who use smart devices are there as their daily life routine. Okay. Then- So let us understand IoT a little bit more using some examples. So using few examples, we'll understand better. Okay. Now in the first picture, I have an air conditioner. In the second picture, I have a refrigerator. Okay, so I will control my air conditioner using this IoT, and using the same IoT concept I'll control refrigerator also. So how does it work? My air conditioner, as soon as I power on my air conditioner, what it does is it has an internal temperature sensor. Using that internal temperature sensor, I will calculate or detect what is the room temperature. Because just now I have on the AC. Immediately it is not just something magic to within seconds it cannot cool my room, right? So as it is on, it just takes the reading of the room temperature. So I have defaultly set my air conditioner that it has to maintain my room with 20 degrees Celsius, for example. Okay, 20 degrees Celsius. So let's suppose if the room temperature is detected, if the room temperature is detected by the temperature sensor, so let's suppose it is detected that it is the room temperature is 27 degrees Celsius. Okay, if it is 27 degrees Celsius, then that will be read by the temperature sensor and it will be given to the air conditioner, and air conditioner has to reduce the temperature by 6 units. Okay, why should I reduce it into 6 units? Because my default temperature that I have to maintain is 20 degree. So the room temperature is 26 degree. So if I reduce the temperature with 6 units, it will come to 20 degrees Celsius and the room temperature will be maintained with 20 degrees Celsius until the air conditioner is on. Okay. Same way, on the other side, there is a refrigerator and there are different compartments provided for refrigerator. Maybe one top part will be for ice creams and so on, which will be in a frozen condition. Then where you keep your vegetables, fruits, food products, and so on. So each and every item has different temperature that it has to maintain, and fruits and vegetables will be provided with one type of temperature. Food items which is already prepared will be given a different value of temperature, and products like eggs and so on will be given as a different type of temperature, milk and so on. So every food product has a different temperature. Using a smart refrigerator, I can provide different temperature to different compartments. Okay, so how it is smart? So what if I manually doing everything that is of no use, that cannot become a smart refrigerator. So this also, if we want to tell refrigerator as a smart device, it also has an internal temperature sensor using which it can calculate the external environmental temperature sensor. Accordingly, the temperature varies for different compartment for different food products. Okay, so why I have taken only air conditioner refrigerator is this, the one of the good example which can tell us that both the application depends upon the external environmental parameters. So if both the device has to work, it depends upon the environmental parameters. What is the room temperature? Accordingly, I will work. Okay. So I don't want to give more value or less value. According to room temperature, how much ever it is, I will maintain my device in such a way that it will be moderate according to your default settings. Okay. So this is how you can understand the IoT concept better. Okay. Uh, yes. Then applications of IoT. There are different applications of IoT provided. So first thing I already told you that the smart watches, which we already most every house has a smartwatch nowadays, right? Every house has a smartwatches nowadays. So that is the basic example for IoT that I can give. Then coming to the further things, you have something like industrial IoT. Okay, industrial IoT will be a bigger application. Let me just continue with home automation. Home automation, I told you, I can close my door using my mobile phone itself. Let's suppose I've completed all my work and I left for office. Okay, once I left for office, I realized that I forgot to off my air conditioner or I forgot to lock my door. So what I'll do, I can use my mobile phone since it is all automated. So I can control each and every devices in my home using my mobile phone itself. I can open my refrigerator and go off. I can go out and close the door. Correct. So I can close my windows after reaching my office. Whatever I can do using if the devices here are smart. Okay. So these would be the applications, and further they have smart industries, and there are also a few countries they are under implementing smart city. That means the complete city that they're making, going to make smart, and each and every you can shop through mobile phone, you can buy products through mobile phone. That is individually. That is now what we're using is using Amazon, Flipkarts, and all. We have third party companies using which I can control. But making a complete city smart can control using a single app. I can control whatever I want. If you want a house, I can use the same app. I can shop using the same one. I can buy products using the same one. I can drive cars using the same thing. I can whatever possible. I need to do admission for my schools. I can do it. I need to do admissions for my colleges. I can do whatever it is. That is called smart city. Okay. So yeah, these are the few applications of IoT. Then let's move on. Coming to evolution of industry, how my industries evolved actually. Now, if it is an IoT world, how did the industry actually evolved? So first it was industry 1.0, where you had only mechanization and steam engines in your applications. So if you just um, backward to 18th century or 19th century, you can see that the industries or whatever it was, they were just mechanical devices and steam devices available. Then after so many years, around 20th century, we got a gas, electricity, gas, and oil. Then due to this oil and gas, an internal combustion engine started evolving. So since we had only mechanization, we had only steam engine using a coal and fire. We used to run the engines. Then then later on, electricity and gas and oil came into existence. So internal combustion engine came into existence. Then electronics and communication devices like computers, cell phones came into existence. So programmable logic controllers came into existence. Okay. So this we called it as Industry 3.0. That was nothing far. It was just 25 or 30 years back. I'm talking about. Okay. These are all 20 years, 25 to 30 years back. Okay. Then the latest version we call it as Industry 4.0, where you use internet and robots. So I don't need to work. I just need to sit on my bed. My robot can give me coffee. It can actually bath for me. It can it can provide food for me. Everything can do. I can just sit on my bed and enjoy whatever it is. Okay. So that is the generation now. What we are seeing here, right? So yeah, this is the industry level 4.0, which is nothing but the smart one, which involves manufacturing technologies, which including cyber physical systems, Internet of Things, cloud computing, and cognitive computing, and creating the smart factory. So these are all the revolution of Industry 4.0. Okay. So yeah, I think these are all the topics that we have covered today. So yeah, I think as I told you, the IP address practicals cannot be conducted today since I got a since I was informed about that. So tomorrow you will be conducting with IP address and TCP programming protocol. So for now, you can just give the feedback of the class how it went on. Since I know since everything was theory that was taken today, so it would be a bit boring. So you can just let me know if you have any questions to ask regarding the all over the concepts, and give me the feedback about the session.
Please share your good name.
I'm Krishna, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Krishna. And I have a question for you.
Yeah, please.
It is regarding IPv6.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get from a couple of articles popping up in the recent past that IPv6 will be predominantly used in the upcoming spectrum of 5G.
Yes, yes, right. So I
Uh,
think in another 2-3 years only that will be coming into existence.
Yes, yes. Just I'm thinking loud, and it's a generic question as with the interest of the
Yes,
participants.
you are right. You are right.
Yeah. So, like, how much we will be able to implement with the Indian context? This is just not a political question. This is out of interest.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
So you are telling about this structure of the IP address and so on, right?
yes, yes, yes. Because already many devices are there in internet now as IoT devices. So when the devices number is increasing, definitely we will be running out of IPv4.
Yes, right. So as per the count or the customers that until now we have established, so the scientist or the programmer, whoever it is, they thought that IPv4 would be able to run for other 10 years or so. Even now, even though after 20 till 20 years IPv4 can be managed, but
Hmm.
further it may be some problem. So what is the structure that is given for IPv6 is here we used 32-bit as a size of my address, where IPv6 will have 128 bits. So you can just see it is not even double. It is almost 4 times of this IPv4, and my
Correct.
IPv6 will be 128-bit addresses, and which has I think it is around 3.4 into 10 power 38 unique IP addresses you will be providing at a time.
Yes, yes, we have a large subnet in there. I just happened to just go through. It's a very large
Yes, yes.
subnet to be able to
So
have
yeah,
cascading.
yeah, and if you are telling that these many IP addresses are suitable in IPv4, it doesn't mean that once after these many IP addresses are done, you cannot use that IP address. Few applications are like just for a second or just for a day or just for a week that IP address is required. Once after that, the IP address will be not used by the manufacturer. So
Correct.
that
That can
IP
be,
address can be used for this alternative purposes.
yeah, that
Same
can be given to a IP pool. No, we can have a pool of IPs and it can be recycled, right?
Exactly. That can be done, but comparing to that numbers, the users, if you just see our own examples also, we are not using one mobile phone ourselves. Each house has almost 5 to 6 mobile phones in their houses.
Very true. Yeah.
So this is just mobile phones I'm talking about. Apart from that, no one is using a picture tube here. Television is not never a picture tube nowadays. There are always a smart TVs here. So smart TVs considers an IP address. Your laptops, your desktop. Everyone has a desktop, and further on, you also have a laptop also. So if you just see a single house in a city or a small village has these many devices, and you can just compare with the whole world how many users.
Yeah.
So that is the reason in maybe in other few years IPv6 will be coming into existence. And as you can tell, for a second there is 3.4 to 10 power 38 unique IP addresses can be used per second only. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can see how many users. That means 340 trillion IP addresses can be used per second.
Yeah, that's right. But we need to have enough bandwidth to, accommodate
Yeah,
all.
they are coming up with it, sir. That is the reason we have restricted 5G and more than 5G connections that suits IPv4.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Netherlands have made the testing already.
Right, sir. Right, right.
Yeah. So I thought I would just try to share these
Yeah,
things
yeah,
to get
yeah, yeah.
clarified.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Yeah, it's a pleasure talking to you. It was a nice interaction.
thank you,
Krishna.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So if others have any questions to discuss, you can just let me know. Else, I think yeah, I think if there is no questions, we can wind up and we'll just get back to you tomorrow at the same time. Yeah, I'll just give you some time. You can just tell me if you have any discussion to do.
Participants, if you have any query, you can share. You can unmute yourself and you can ask the question to the resource person. Krishna sir, we have the session with you tomorrow from 2:30.
Yes, I think maybe Nishant would be handling tomorrow's session now.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, Nishant would be handling tomorrow's session.
And you kindly check, that is, if we get the learning material by today, then I
Yes,
will
yes, yes.
share the material with
So
the
what we can do
participants.
is better option will be once we complete the complete IoT concept. So altogether, I make a folder and share it to you, ma'am.
Okay.
So let me finish tomorrow's and day after tomorrow's concept. So altogether, I can put it in a folder and share it to you.
Okay, you just talk to your technical head
I
also
will, ma'am. I
regarding
will.
that.
Yeah, sure.
Mr. Krishna,
Yes.
one information for tomorrow, the Python thing, can we use other IDEs apart from Atom?
Sir, I think we are not using a Python programming there. We'll be using embedded
Sorry
programming
to
only.
interrupt. Sorry to interrupt,
Yes,
sir.
yes, ma'am.
Tomorrow first up there will be the Python session, and
Yeah.
that will be taken by other person from different
Okay,
industry.
okay, fine, fine.
Okay.
So I think that is not our side, I guess.
Okay. Thank you.
So our sessions will be on 2:30 tomorrow.
2:30. 2:30.
Yeah. So
Okay,
morning
thanks.
session, I'm not aware of it. So afternoon session, it will be around, yeah, we just learned about IP address. So we'll just take a small, last month, we just used the T1 Launchpad in our applications. So using the same T1 Launchpad, we'll try to provide an IP address for that device using a Wi-Fi connectivity. So T1 Launchpad alone cannot support and networks because it is not having a Wi-Fi capability. So we have an additional module which will be explained tomorrow. Using that additional module, we'll make an Tiva Launchpad Wi-Fi connectivity, then using which I can assign an IP address to it. Then various TCP applications can be done tomorrow. So those things we will be learning it tomorrow. So for now, I think we can wind up the session.
Okay, I think there is no more question.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
So,
ma'am.
so see you on tomorrow at 2:30.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you for your informative session.
Yes,
The
ma'am. Thank
session
you.
was too nice.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay,
See you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you all.
see you.
Ma'am, the quiz link is posted.
Quiz link, I'm checking. No, I think, please wait, I will send the quiz link
Thank you,
and
madam.
it will be sent also in your WhatsApp.
We will wait, madam. No problem. Thank you very much.
So, ma'am, I can leave now, ma'am?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
And I have also shared some prerequisite for tomorrow's first up session in your WhatsApp group. So kindly follow the whatever the prerequisite that has given by the expert of tomorrow's expert. So I have already given in your WhatsApp group. So before joining tomorrow's session, please kindly ready with all those prerequisites that will help you to run the program during the session. Please wait, I will send the quiz link. Quiz link is given in the chat box and we will give the quiz link in your WhatsApp group after closing of this session.
Yes, madam. We got it. Thank you, madam.
Okay, thank you, sir. So participants, I'm closing this session now. See you tomorrow at 10:30. Please join at by 10:20. I will share the same link in your WhatsApp group again. So till then, bye.